Dead on arrival. That's what Republican leaders say about any nominee President Obama chooses to fill the vacant seat in the Supreme Court. And this includes Merrick Garland. Many Republicans say the next president should pick the nominee after the election season is over. In fact, Texas Senior Senator John Cornyn has vowed to make any nominee a, quote, piñata, while President Obama says our Supreme Court is supposed to be above politics. This is our topic this half hour, the Supreme Court nominee. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can also weigh in on Twitter. Be sure to use the hashtag Fox26forlife. Joining us live in the newsroom is our panel. It's led by our senior legal analyst, Chris Tritico. We also have Democratic media consultant Mustafa Tamiz and Republican strategist and public policy analyst Jackie Bally. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
All right, so what do you think about this? Is it too big of a gamble for the GOP?
It's a pretty big risk for the GOP if you analyze the race as it stands today with the Republican Party having the problems that they're having. There may be more inroads, and we're going to talk about this, there may be more inroads for a Democratic White House next year than there is for a Republican White House. And if that happens, it could be a pretty big gamble the GOP is taking here with respect to this. You know, Merrick Garland is a extremely qualified jurist to sit on the Supreme Court, and I venture to guess had this not been Barack Obama's last year in office, had it not been for this political climate that we're facing right now, whether Merrick Garland ever would have been nominated to serve on the Supreme Court because of the moderate tone that he has shown as a jurist in the time that he's been on the bench. And so with that said, I'm wondering if the GOP, Mustafa Tamiz, is not taking a huge gamble in saying we're not even going to give him a vote when you have senators like Orrin Hatch, who when he was first nominated said this guy needs to be on the bench.
And it underscores the dysfunction in the United States Congress. And Republicans control the United States Congress, they control the United States Senate, 30 governors across the state, and you know, as many legislatures, if not more. And even then, that they're in power, things aren't working, and they're not able to explain to their base why are things so bad, and they keep on blaming President Obama, and he's given them the guy that they wanted. This is the guy that most Republicans wanted in the United States Senate, and they can't even vote for him because they're so afraid of their base.
As recently as last week, a poll came out that said a majority of Americans said the United States Senate should hold hearings and vote on the nominee. This is before Merrick Garland was nominated. The majority of Americans said the Senate should hold hearings and vote on a nominee the president nominates. Why won't the Senate just do that?
Well, because everything's been political when it comes to the Senate and the president. We saw the Keystone Pipeline. Why did he veto it? That's just the game that both parties have been playing. And so I disagree with a lot of the rhetoric we're hearing from the Republicans. I think that, I'm not a gambler, first of all. That's probably why I think this way. I think this is the best we're going to get from a liberal president. He's a moderate with liberal views. He's not very good on Second Amendments. He's definitely not a Scalia, and he's not a constitutional conservative, but this is the best we're going to get from a liberal president. And, you know, if we have Hillary in the White House, we could get someone who's much more to the left, someone who's younger. Merrick Garland's only he's 63 years old, so that means 20 years on the bench.
The oldest one nominated in the last 25 years.
That means 20 years on the bench, as opposed to somebody Hillary would nominate who would be much more leaning to the left and much younger. But no, he's not a conservative. He's not a Scalia. He's not ideal for Republicans, but this is the best that we're going to get from a liberal president.
Let me go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Okay, let's take a look at Twitter, and we're going to take a look at first a couple of tweets from our Texas senators. Senator Ted Cruz saying Merrick Garland is exactly the type of Supreme Court nominee you get when you make deals in Washington, D.C. Cornyn linked to an article that said the Supreme Court nominee has an anti-gun record. Elegant Coretta says, yes, they should follow the Constitution and take the vote. And Kay Foley FL says, can someone give me a logical reason at this point why a nominee should not be considered? Options will only get worse.
Well, that last tweet is exactly what I was talking about. In that there's, if you look at it, Mustafa, the GOP is having so many problems in their nominating process, and if if things blow up at the convention and the party splits and you have basically two Republican factions running for president, there's more inroads for Hillary Clinton to be in the White House next year and more inroads for the Democrats to take over the Senate than there is for the Republicans to retain control. If that happens, you're not going to have a Merrick Garland sitting in the Supreme Court next year.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to underscore, that the problem isn't just with this particular nomination. This is just a symptom of a larger problem in the Republican establishment and the Republican base. There's a complete disconnect between what the primary voters want and desire versus what the establishment, and the establishment is pretty strong. They control the House, they control the Senate, they control 30 governorships, and they still can't govern.
I want to talk for a minute, we're almost out of time, I want to talk for a minute about the breakdown in the system, and both sides have done this for 30, 40 years in the nominating process for judges and the politicization of this, because this is a symptom that we've had for a very long time, and it's wrong.
And it ties into what one of our viewers said. They're not going against the Constitution. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2 of the Constitution says that the Senate is supposed to guide and consent.
Advise and consent.
Advise and consent. It does not say that they have to have a hearing. And also under Article 1, Section 5 of the Constitution, it says that they make up their own rules, which they are doing.
But the advise tends to mean you should have a hearing.
They advise. They said we don't like them.
Look, here's the thing. Advise and consent, what it really means is, from a practical purposes, the president makes a nomination and they determine whether the person's qualified to be in that office, and if they are, they're supposed to appoint them.